Welcome to WCAR 63. How many people were here last year? Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay, and my name is Eric Cohen. I'm an adjunct professor for hire on emerging technologies and also the proprietor at Cohen Computer Consulting, where we help growing businesses to cope with and benefit from information technology. And I'm going to try and have a Slido going here. The first one available at slido.com, 6235762, and I've got a QR code coming up as well. It's just if you have some questions you have coming into this session, and maybe for me, maybe for some folks later, but if you go to slido.com, we've got, especially for those of you who are not here in person, I'm sorry if you are at home on the Zoom, I did not see your hands, I did not acknowledge you, my fault. But wherever you are, starting up, there's an open poll. What are the questions you bring into the session? We'll then have some other polling questions as we go along. Disclaimer, I used to have to say that the points you hear are not those of my employer, of Rutgers, or of any sane or normal person. They are mine alone, and many of them are not mine because I have no personal attention span. But I don't have to say that as much anymore. But here is the current disclaimer. It is entirely possible that since the last time that I looked at the slides in my machine, OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini or somebody did something new that completely changes everything that I've just written about. You may have heard that Microsoft wants to change the name of Copilot to Windows Intelligence. The brandings, just everything changes on a regular basis. So my knowledge is hours old. Okay, so just for those of you who were here, take a quick look at this picture and then the picture 1 year ago. Here was the picture from last year. What differences do you see? Spelling. Generative, that's the name of a governance organization, isn't it? Proactive AI and generative. So spelling. What do you think of the quality of the images of the people? Perhaps a little rudimentary compared to where we are. So let's look. This is what came out of DALL-E 3 a couple of days ago. What do you notice? You get to say the same thing. Spelling. A year later, they still can't get spelling right. It's even worse there. The people may be a little bit more photorealistic on the people side. So here is coming out of Gemini. So that's Google's, and they have just updated theirs. What do you notice about the business people in a classroom environment in this picture? Because of a little problem Google had, they don't want to do people. They refuse to do people in their images right now. They'll need to go to something else, so we had to go to robots. How about the spelling? A little closer. I keep counting. Okay. And then again, this is from my favorite, if you're doing spelling, my favorite image generator called Ideogram, Ideogram. If you happen to have looked at my handout, and again, those of you who signed up for every single thing in my little handout, no, I'm not going over all those, but I hope they'll be helpful. But Ideogram, if you want to do good spelling, I highly suggest Ideogram. Meta comes in distant second, Gemini, ChatGPT, not so much. But if you actually want to have good spelling, you can either take someone else's tool, put your words on top. I like Ideogram. And I'll be giving you my top 10. What was that silly video that I gave you? It was AI generated. What was that video? So 40 years ago, before most of you were born, I was Willy Wonka. I worked at a candy factory in Rochester, New York, my old hometown, which I left around 5.5 years ago to move to South Central Pennsylvania. But when I worked at that candy company, I had a very innovative, not very business savvy, but a very innovative boss. And he wanted to create new kinds of candy. And I said, what would be the best supply chain oriented candy? My sister knew the founders, or one of the big guns at the Tootsie Roll Company, which used to be where we lived. And of course, they have the Tootsie Pop, which is what inside of what? A chocolate ball inside of a candy sphere. And I said, what if we could do something else? What if instead of chocolate candy in the middle, we filled it with helium? What would that mean for the supply chain? Well, it would be the perfect candy. Kids would love it. Why? Number one, what does a little kid do with their candy all the time? Drop it. And they cry. Heliopop, the kid drops it, it just stays. Number two, the little boys that you saw in the commercial, what do they like? They take a couple of licks and then they start talking like this. It's better than Pop Rocks. So parents love it, kids love it, the stores love it. You don't have to use the shelf space. Just put them anywhere you want. Shoppers love it. Just put it anywhere in the truck. It doesn't matter. Put it up in the bottom. Manufacturers love it. And so I've had this idea for 40 years, but I never institutionalized it. And along comes all these tools. And I could start to create the images. And I could start to create the music. And I could start to create the video. So that was a video. I created my Heliopops, the pop that won't drop, from Shakewell Industries. You know, every product says Shakewell on it. So I created my images. I created my videos. And again, there's a version of that. But that's what that was all about. This is something that I find very helpful for me in my creativity. And Miklos was worried about taking my time. Of course, he did the grand introduction. I'll be doing some of that as well. Glenn has been doing AI in the space. Miklos has been doing AI in the space. The first reference that I found written about thinking machines was from a short story in the San Francisco Examiner, 1899, called Moxon's Master, which begins, is it possible that machines can think? And we're not just talking about adding 1 + 1 and 2 + 2. We're talking about a machine that got so fed up with its master that it just decided to kill him. I mean, way before 2001: A Space Odyssey. And again, Hal was just following orders because he was given conflicting orders. You know, meet their needs, but don't let them hear about this certain thing. So we have to be non-ambiguous when we deal with AI, or we may be locked out of the shuttle bay pod doors. Anyway, what has happened in a year? So just 2 years since November 30th, 2022, we're not 2 years in. Lots of great features here. What's happened in the last year? It's been the multimodal. We started off with the text-to-text. You type, it responds. We added in the text to images somewhat. You type in text, it creates an image. But now we're going more into the throw in text, you throw in audio, you throw in video, you throw in images, and it will come out with things as well. So lots more in the multimodal. Not necessarily in each one. Claude still doesn't do images. Claude has just added the interactive voice. Gemini has the interactive voice. ChatGPT has got the interactive voice. Those came out depending on how much you're paying right now. But a lot of interactivity, even within responses. The Claude, OpenAI now have desktop versions, not just for the Mac, but for the PC. We'll look at just a little pop-up from that. They've added collaborative functionality like projects or teams, the ability to organize things a little bit more. And my favorite thing from ChatGPT, search within your posts. Finally, type in continuous audit. You can see all the different things that I have been doing as I was preparing for this and thinking about stuff. You know, countries, more languages. So just a real maturity in the, and so going back to our agenda, and again, there is the Slido. There's a QR code with our videos in the way of it. So I guess you can't use that. And another explanation, I saw a bunch of books and it said modern statistics with R, practical data science with R, modern data science with R. And so I said to the tools, what if we took the letter R from all these titles? So modern statistics without R, practical data science without R. Unfortunately, even Ideogram didn't get it right perfectly, but that's what those are. Take out the R. So what are we going to talk about? A brief review. Miklos did a wonderful job. I'm going to go through those quick. Some top 10 tools and what's big, and a big movement I've seen. Are we going to do AI that has added functionality? Are we going to do applications that have added AI? Are we going to work with collaboration tools that say this is our chance to beat everybody else out? A little call to action, and if there is time for Q&A. I'm going to do a real quick check on the Slido here, and we have no questions. Let me go ahead and open up the next poll. And that's if you want to go to the Slido and what is your go-to chatbot next up. So again, Miklos did this. I will rush through really quick. What is AI? There's a difference between generative AI. It is just a small subset of the world of artificial intelligence. Generative AI, though, has pushed a whole lot of money into this world here. So we've got the trickle down. We've got artificial intelligence. We've got stuff that's not artificial intelligence, but says it is. Miklos mentioned, just like Long Island iced tea became Long Island blockchain. People are throwing AI into everything. A small pizza, no anchovies to go, please. Under artificial intelligence, we have stuff that's machine learning. And again, the machine learning guys just won a physics Nobel Prize. And then we've got AI that's not machine learning. Subset of machine learning, we've got deep learning, stuff that's not deep learning. And then under deep learning, we've got generative AI and stuff that's not generative. So important to know, billions going into generative AI, tens of billions, but again, going down to the rest of it. And I mentioned last year that I thought in a large way, this was bringing in Web 3.0. In 2006, the New York Times said, we want to have a new layer of meaning on top of the web, where it's less of a catalog and more of a guide. Web 3.0, and again, 2006, the very idea, people thought it was unobtainable, but that idea that you could weave together the documents on the web, add AI so the web is more of a guide than a catalog, and then be able to answer a question like, I'm looking for a warm place to vacation. I've got a budget of $3,000. I've got an 11-year-old child. And that's exactly what the tools are doing today. So we have reached that in a large way. The web with computer sense, computer calculation, not human reasoning. As Miklos said, AI is not new. I have been using generative AI for a long time. I have been using chatbots for a long time. But what came about has been a huge catalyst for people to throw money and pay attention and competition in the space. Chatbots, Eliza, 1966. And if you haven't read Joseph Weizenbaum's 1976 book on the chatbot experience, where he said computers can do things, but that doesn't mean we should have them do that. It explains a lot of the stuff that's going on right now with the chatbot world. Perry in 71, a tool that I have been using since the 80s, a chatbot called Thoughtline and for MS-DOS, Write Easy for Windows, which were chatbots which would lead you through the creation of business documents by running you through a Socratic method of thinking, not AI, but the things that we're doing with chatbots today to create articles and like, I've had that tool since 1989 or so. We've got Jen, we've got Tay, and again, not all chatbots are AI, and absolutely not AI is chatbots. The AI movement, again, Glenn has been on this for forever. Miklos has been on this forever. It sort of went away with the expert system world. It came back with some interest. The firms started picking it up in the mid-2010s. The AICP and CPA Canada came up with guidance. But again, what happened here new is that they put the cookies on the bottom shelf where the kiddies can get at it. It made it so that people didn't have to. I was taking Alex, where are you at? I was taking a machine learning class from Alex, and we were doing Python and libraries and things like that. And someone else used the phrase, ain't no one got time for that. The average person isn't going to be able to do that. This made it absolutely available to people. So a chatbot for all came out November 30, 2022, can converse on just about anything, making working with AI as easy as typing, trained on a huge amount of information, able to talk on all sorts of different topics in natural language, human-like responses, personalized to you. There has been a lack of understanding people have about these. You've seen the people say, how many R's are there in the word strawberry? That's not how these tools work. They work with tokens, they work with words and bits of words, how the words relate to each other, and there are huge amounts of training. They're not specialist tools. They put together content by using probabilities based on their training, weights and vectors, weights and vectors. You may have heard about the lawyers who went to ChatGPT and said, find me court cases, or the academics who said, give me some citations for my paper. And it just made stuff up. It did Alex Vasarhelyi and Miklos Kogan and made up journals and threw them together to create. Oh, it did that. The article, but like I say, I can prove to you, Alex, that I have Alex de Wasserhelye and Miklos Kogan. I got that. It, but they've been working on it. We're going to talk about an effort from OpenAI in particular to help with the undesirable results that some people call hallucinations. Anyway, the results coming out may not be reliable. You're told not to trust them. And again, it is quite advanced. It can occasionally produce incorrect or nonsensical responses, but they're working to make it better and better. And again, it's all about the tokens. It takes your words. If we're dealing with words, it finds the words or the word parts. It separates them out into tokens. It finds out the interrelationships between the numbers in their library associated with those tokens. And that's how it comes out with its evaluation of phrasing as part of a huge onion of parts of the system and the solution. So it is based on probabilities. It is not database retrieval, although we'll talk about the move into that. It is not programmatic. The responses may sound logical, but be very wrong, producing undesirable results. And so always use your judgment. Devriez, no provriez, trust but verify. So with that beginning out of the way, move to some state-of-the-art stuff here. And question number one, artificial intelligence added to apps, apps added to artificial intelligence. What are some of the solutions out there? And what everybody says is our next step, which is agentic AI. So right now, the ChatGPTs, Geminis, Claudes, Copilots, they are all adding some functionality to their environment to make them more application-like. The Google Suite, Office 365, adding AI to make their applications smarter. LinkedIn and just about every application out there adding in the functionality. Zoom, we're going to talk about Zoom. Okay, so number one, how many people are using Canvas within ChatGPT? Let's see a couple of hands. Okay. You have to have the paid version of ChatGPT. Canvas is the new word processor or programmatic environment. I'll have a screenshot on that within those tools. Or instead of going off the word, you do your word processing. You can type right within this new Canvas environment or do your coding within the Canvas environment. It's got little icons to say, okay, do an evaluation of this, give me some comments. Or Professor Kogan said it needs to be 1,000 words and I only have 800, add 200 words somehow. Or Professor Wasserhelye says this needs to be at least college level. It's currently at an 8th grade level. Can you increase the level on it for me? And these are standard features for the Canvas for the word processing. For the programming, it will automatically change your JavaScript into Python, or it will automatically do checks or comments and things. So ChatGPT is trying to be your new word processor coding environment. They just accidentally released Project Jarvis, and we're going to look at Claude computer use, where they're saying, why have an RPA tool? Why use UiPath Studio, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, Power Automate, when these tools will be your RPA tool? So we've got the AI adding this functionality very quickly, but again, at the same time, we've got Office adding AI. We've got GitHub adding AI. We've got RPA tools adding AI. But how many people knew that Zoom now wants to be your word processor? Last month, Zoom added a new functionality called Zoom Docs. And Zoom Docs can be your word processor and also a wiki for collaborative work together. They have had, for people who aren't mired to an older contract, they have had artificial intelligence to Zoom. Version 1 had a summarizer, which at the end of your call would give you a complete, here's what people discussed, here's the takeaways. And the AI assistant, which sat there and chat, hey, this is Jimmy, what did I miss? And it would answer all those questions for you. They've just come out with version 2 of their AI tool, which is not just about Zoom sessions, but going off to the docs and their entire environment. And again, there's a link to the Zoom docs and the new companion. And if you happen to use Opera or Brave or another browser, and again, not the best picture here, You go into, on the left, we've got Opera. On the right, we've got Brave. Opera has the Aria assistant, which will summarize pages, explore the topics for you, do AI stuff within your browser. On the right, we've got Brave, which lets you choose. You want to use open source Mixtral, Claude 3 if you pay for it, Llama open source, and then you can do research and custom things within your environment. So everybody's adding AI, and you want to be doing your word processing with your AI tool. You're going to be using your AI tool to do your collaboration. You want to use your collaboration tool to do whatever. It's all coming together. But let's talk about, again, many people in this room know about these things. I talk with people all the time. This is what I do. This is how I spend my time. I live and breathe this stuff. I want to know what's going on. OpenAI, ChatGPT, the folks who sort of started where we're going to. They've got lots of different versions. They've got the paid and the unpaid version. They've got the version that you get through the API. It turns out that GPT 4.0 through the AI, through the API is not as good as ChatGPT 4.0 that you get through the web interface. And you can find that out if you go to the Chat Arena leaderboard at Chat Arena or LM Arena. LM has this wonderful site you can go to. It'll bring up 2 LLMs or visual analyzers at random. You type in your, you type in whatever you want to type. It comes up with responses. You say, I like A better, B better. They're both good. I don't like either one. And then it puts the results into the leaderboard. But which one are you working with? Again, ChatGPT, you can set up custom GBTs. You've got a classroom. Take your classroom material, put them into a custom GBT. It can be your teaching assistant. The students can go and ask it questions and have your materials available. So lots of stuff through ChatGPT, best known, of course. Microsoft Copilot, maybe soon Windows Intelligence. Really confusing because what you can do at copilot.microsoft.com is different than what you can do with Copilot in Microsoft Edge, which is different than in other places. But again, I'll show you some slides there. Google Gemini, that is the Mac truck of Gen AI because you can use 2 million token context windows. You can put in 2 hours of video into Google Gemini, and it can analyze it from beginning to end. I love Anthropic Claude because of artifacts, shareable things for the WCAR64 meta-conference, creating things where I can share project plans, I can share code, I can share images, let them, make them public to other people, they can look at it, they can bring it into their own code environments. Meta, there is the commercial version from Facebook. They do the text to text. They have an Imagine feature where they will give you your image in real time as you type, which is a lot of fun. And the one that Bill Gates said everybody should use is their personal assistant Pi, which is friendly. It doesn't do all the things, but if you see a joke from me in LinkedIn, I may have talked to Pi about it. Search engines, I said it's not a search engine, it's not a database search. Perplexity wants to be your database search. Perplexity wants to be your search engine. ChatGPT went out and said, okay, we want to compete with them as well. They had an open version, a beta version called SearchGPT, which just got incorporated into ChatGPT. I'll show you a screen of that. Images, we won't have time to talk about Adobe building this into all their image tools. Stable Diffusion, Midjourney. I told you about Ideogram. If you haven't checked it, please go to Ideogram. The ability to create videos, Sora may be coming out sometime, but Runway, Minimax, lots of other great tools. Working with Voice, 11 Labs, being able to do things. HeyGen, great things for working with people. I will need to get to my top 10. Okay. If you've got the paid version of ChatGPT, this is what you see right now. The 4.0, which is the sort of state of the art. 4.0 with Canvas, I'll show you the Canvas. The preview towards the reasoning one, where it thinks through things and does things in multiple steps. It may be out sooner rather than later. Minis and lots of other things will help me with that. But here's Canvas. What do we got? Our normal, on the left-hand side, our normal threaded stuff. Over on the right is the Canvas. I thought that had a laser. Oh, there's your signs. There you go. So here is the canvas. I'm using this for word processing here. How do we stay up with the world of Gen AI? Continuous learning, make sure you experiment, network with our community, focus on what's practical, stay skeptical, but at any time you can up to the reading level or down the reading level. Have it go through and do comments, add 200 words to it, clean things up so that it looks nice to share with others. So the idea that you can do your word processing, and again, you can type in this collaboratively, so you've got your left, you've got your right, only in the new version coming out more, as far as I know. But again, it introduces this question: you want to be using your AI within your word processor, or do you want to be doing word processing within here? And again, I've got my list of when you would do one and not the other. This is, it doesn't have this same kind of tool set that a Word document has, the file management and things like that, but we can talk more about that. All right. You now have desktop versions of ChatGPT and Claude, at least. And that means that instead of going to the website, you can just fire up the program. When you've got the program running in the background, there are little pop-up boxes. So this will work along with the desktop as well. Very quickly bring things up, very quickly do searches. Always have your search engine at your right-hand side. OpenAI has also announced the enhancement of their real-time and adding it to APIs, making it cheaper to use them if you're paying, evaluation opportunities, being able to improve the smaller models from the bigger models, do more things with vision where you can now give it images from your world. So when you do vision analysis, it is more appropriate to your manufacturing or medical or other environments. And so just lots of things coming from them. But they promised video back in June, and we haven't seen that yet. This is the most recent copilot.microsoft.com. They got rid of the difference between basic Copilot and the larger context window notebook. But they've tried to clean things up. They have added the interactive voice. But like I say, it's important to notice that what you see, if you on a university account, may be different than a paid account, may be different than a personal account. Copilot has the ability to create music for you on a personal account. It keeps history for you, which it may not on a university account. So it's good to have multiple accounts. And again, maybe we'll see that turn into Windows Intelligence soon. But they're talking about voice and vision and more reasoning and incorporating more daily content into it and click to dos. And by the way, if you didn't see this, they're adding AI to Notepad. They'd already added it to Paint. They're adding AI to Notepad. Okay, Copilot within What's Up, working with partnerships so that they can deal with the IP issues. So lots of new things coming from them. This has been the big buzz in our circles. We know about Gemini.google.com, which is much like the others, but there's another interface that other people may not know about called Notebook LM. So notebooklm.google.com. This is for note-taking. This is for putting together projects. You can put in huge amounts of information. I think it's 50 documents, up to 500,000 words each. Huge documents into this thing. It will let you add notes. It'll let you query. But my favorite feature, if you haven't seen it, is the audio overview. So along comes a new SEC rule, 580 pages. You put that thing, you can reference it by URL, you can add the PDF, and then you can click the button and say, create a 10-minute, 20-minute podcast format, and it will create an amazing, a man and a woman doing a little back and forth. It sounds like real people. Sometimes they know what they're talking about. They added a new button to customize to help, because little things like Issaka. No, it's Isaka. I don't want to hear you say Issaka 5,000 times in the next 12 minutes. But you can automatically create a podcast immediately from any pieces of information you put into Notebook LM. A fantastic feature. Please play with it. How do they know it's true? One more time. I listen to it and they do a really, really good job. And again, adding the customization features let you guide them a little bit more in what they cover. And again, there's always those undesirable results, but for what it does compared to me, for example, as a practitioner, in come a bunch of new things about the climate disclosure rule from the SEC. What's it going to take me to put together a meaningful podcast within an hour and compete with a big voice? It's amazing. I always tell people to trust what they're. So I will tell people that I'm using the tool and why. Throughout, you're going to find things like we saw in the canvas, the ability to edit in line. But here's Gemini, and again, you can take parts of the responses and say, regenerate this part and not the whole thing. So lots of fine tuning. I know I'm just about out of time here. You say, we're accountants, of course. We want to use Excel. Here is some outcome that I've shared from looking at the Gartner Emerging Technologies report. I've had it do vision analysis of the height chart. It pulled out the concept from the height chart of the phases. I then gave it to Whisper. This is through Hugging Face, and I believe our next sessions we're going to be find out how to go to Hugging Face, grab models, bring them to Google Colab, or just use them within that environment. And you can have it create transcripts. You can have it translate transcripts. But again, we're accountants. Let's talk about Excel. Here's Excel with Copilot, Copilot for Excel. Let's forget about having to know all the things up at the top. Just type what you want over on the right-hand side. Do your analytics for you. And if Excel can't do it, Excel will write the Python program for you that does it for you. All right. It's everywhere, guys. I'm down to my last minute here. It's in LinkedIn. It's in social media. It's in Amazon.com. It's everywhere. Here's my top 10 in my last few seconds here. Use ChatGPT for broad things. Love it for custom GPTs. Consider Canvas. I love Claude artifacts. They have just added interactive voice. They still don't do images. They've just added a new analytics capability with huge amounts of CSV and the computer use that I'll see if I can also talk about here. Ideogram for images with integrity. 11 Labs for voice. HeyGen for taking what I say, turning it to other languages, make it look like lips are moving, and incorporating mail merge within video. Runway and Minimax for videos. GitHub Copilot for programming. We're going to be hearing more about Hugging Face. And again, I'm running out of time. Perplexity for search. Although they have just added the search within ChatGPT. I have in my test actually found the OpenAI better, but I don't trust either one. It's everywhere. SAP has said we're building generative AI into everything we're doing with Joule. It is in research despite everything that I just said. It is hard to play with these things if you're not putting your money into it. They've locked me out of the higher end Claude. The Ideogram isn't letting me do what I used to. But it's all about the Agentic AI. I don't trust it yet. This is the image I have. Hey, ChatGPT, please order launch. Lunch. Ordering launch. I've given you a link. I went through the computer use. It took me forever on my 7-year-old Lenovo T470S, but you can watch it. Get for the most recent W cars, find the sessions, find the speakers, put into a spreadsheet. You can watch a 7-minute video. It goes through, it runs your machine, it does RPA based on what you tell it to do. New features coming out all the time. My time is gone. We're accountants, we want confidentiality. Download GPT for all, download LM Studio, download any number of tools. I'm on my 7-year-old T470S running Llama 3.2 on my machine, no connection to the internet, maintain confidentiality. So, and again, just undesirable results. They know it's a problem. OpenAI just came out with simple QA, a new benchmark. They're trying to deal with that. The futures are here. We're going to be doing that. This is what's next at a time. Google Colab, prompt engineering, agentic AI, process mining, risk, ESG, RPA. Have a great time. I'm here, glad to show you any of these things. Thank you very much.